Welcome into K-State Online. I am Mason Voth. That is Drew Galloway. I told you yesterday, hey, probably going to be a normal show Tuesday and Wednesday. That plan's already been scrapped for good reasons if you're a K-State fan, because we're here to talk about more commitments for the Cats, not just one, but two more that they've added in less than the 24 hours that we talked to you yesterday. We'll just go chronologically here. Nick McClellan jumped into the class yesterday, a safety out of St. Louis, Missouri. You're like, oh, what is he not? Is he a transfer? Christian Brothers College? What's going on there? Yeah, it's some big weird thing. We talked about it. There's a recruit last year that was at Christian Brothers College. And if you remember, Drew, they are a high school soccer powerhouse.
Yes.
Um, at one point was a college, then became a high school, and I believe it's a boys only high school, or it was at one point. I did some half
You
cracked
did
internet
a lot
research
of
on Christian Brothers College last year.
yeah, you did a lot of research on them last year.
So,
But
anyways,
you also dive in like they're a really good football program as well. Them and Dig Smet are one of the probably the two best in the St. Louis area among the private schools. Nick McClellan, flashback to yesterday. I said that I felt good about K-State getting a fourth, maybe a fifth commit from the weekend. McClellan was the one I was talking about as the fourth. I think that had been done for a little bit. K-State was really, really blown away by Nick McClellan when he camped at K-State. And I think it was like June 8th or so. He camped, absolutely blew K-State away, tested really well. I think he ran in the low 4.6s. High school quarterback that plays a little bit of defense, so you never really know what that really looks like. But getting to see him in person, he played really, really well at safety. Did really well in the coverage portion, did really well in the tackling portion. And again, just went from somebody that I think that K-State really that they liked and we're just kind of waiting to see where the dominoes fell at safety to, oh, like we really need to go ahead and like get this done now and lock it down, because he was always scheduled to take an official visit last weekend. But I think that there was a little bit of talk maybe before he camped of, well, we also really like these guys. But then it became, okay, now we've seen McClellan in person. We really liked what he was and how he played. And K-State's been recruiting McClellan for such a long time now. Like it's been over a year. That I think that really shifted them to be like, oh no, like we need to get this done in a hurry. And I think that they were right, because I mean, right before McClellan got to Manhattan, Iowa offered and was trying to get involved, but by that point it was too late. So I think that what K-State did was exactly what you do at a recruitment of, you have somebody that you're kind of just waiting for and waiting for and waiting for, and then you see them, and then you go in and close it and lock it down before anybody else gets involved.
and not to be confused with former kicker Nick McClellan.
Yes.
There's an extra C in this Nick McClellan's name. You mentioned that he plays quarterback for Christian Brothers, which is, the way you said it made me think he plays primarily quarterback in high school. Is that correct? So not
He plays both, but he is mostly a quarterback.
so.
He is a lot like Wesley Fair in 2023.
So what I'm getting at there is, again, this goes to kind of just what we talk about nonstop now. It seems like with defensive backs at K-State, there is this just emphasis on finding guys that are athletes. And for a
Yes.
guy like Nick McClellan, who's going to be a safety at the next level, to primarily play quarterback at his high school and that be their best option, that tells you that they view him as, okay, we got to get this guy in a position to make plays for us. And I think that's one of those to, I mean, you see the rating, it's middle of the pack right now. It's fine. I think it'll probably go up a little bit based off of the indicators that you've given, but that's just another one of those where I think you look and say, well, as a quarterback situation, that should be a good sign to people based
He
off of what you're getting there.
he is better than his ranking. The two services that we really look at, no offense to the other two, that we really look at the most On3 has him as an 88. 247 has him as an 86. He's probably somewhere in that range. Getting dragged down a little bit because ESPN doesn't have a ranking, and Rivals has him as a 5.4 2-star. So
Well,
those factors kind of at play make you think, okay, his ranking is just going to get better soon.
yeah. So Nick McClellan, when he comes in, that we've seen this influx of defensive backs and trying to develop them over the last couple of years. What is that process going to end up looking like for McClellan?
Yeah, I imagine that he bulks up a little because he's probably in that 180-ish range at this point of the game. So bulk up a little bit. Speed isn't a concern, but with how K-State does their strength and conditioning program, you anticipate him getting even faster than he is right now, and that 4.6 to maybe that 4.5, 4.4 is not out of the realm of possibility. And then just learning more about playing defense, because like I said, he doesn't play a ton of defense. He plays some, but a majority of his time is spent at quarterback. So he'll probably just learn the nuances of like being a safety and learning coverages. And I think that's also where just being a former quarterback probably will help him. Is like, okay, like when I was a quarterback, I would always look for like where the safety is in like this coverage. So like I know that I need to be in this area. So I think that will help. Also, sounding like he's going to play like that nickel free safety type of safety that K-State has in their defense. So he'll be pretty close to the line of scrimmage, but also be lined up in the slot a lot.
So do you have the backstory on how it was determined that safety was going to be his position at the next level? Like, was that a him decision, or was that he went to a camp or some coach made the comment to him? Like, do you know the backstory there?
I think that it was a little bit of realizing that he probably wasn't a quarterback at the next level, and going to camps last summer is probably where he determined that he needed to be a safety or play somewhere on defense. And then I think it also just helps that he does still play a little bit at the high school level.
All right, let's move on. The next commitment that happened just a couple hours ago from when we're recording this, HD Davis becomes the second running back of the class. And you see there, none of the services have a ranking for HD Davis yet. So his evaluation hasn't been completed. So I know that's already given plenty of people over on K-StateOnline concern about what's going on here, like what's happening. But why should people not be concerned about a 5 gray star guy like HD Davis at this point in time?
I don't think that everybody should be overly concerned because there was a lot of discourse because Will Rajecki from Georgia committed today to the University of Memphis right after HD Davis committed to K-State. A lot of discourse kind of about those two and like what really went down there. K-State valued them both the same, and they were just going to take that first one to budge. And people will say, "Oh, like HD Davis just committed today because he saw Will Rajecki was committing." I have it on pretty good authority that HD Davis actually committed before that Rajecki was set to announce today. So because of that, it truly was okay. You value them both equally. Just take whoever ends up popping first, and Davis was that. And then there are things that I really like about HD Davis that you don't necessarily get from other guys, and even like a guy like Will Rajecki, because I think that HD Davis is faster than Will Rajecki, despite being he's a little bit smaller, but I think that he's a lot more he's a lot quicker. Like Davis ran a 10.7 100 this past spring, and can really do a lot of things in the backfield. Also, there are some crazy numbers that go with HD Davis. Competition level at Wolf City isn't great. Wolf City is a little bit in the middle of nowhere of Texas. So I think that's probably why he doesn't have an evaluation yet.
I was going to say enrollment 225 at Wolf
Yes.
City in Texas.
Yes, that's why he doesn't have an evaluation yet. That's why he doesn't have a ton of offers yet. That's why K-State really kind of snuck in and got him. It's a little bit like Kingston Hall that we talked about yesterday. But you also look that Have you seen his stats from this past season by chance?
I was going to have you enlighten the people there because they're pretty nuts.
H.D. Davis ran for over 2,700 yards last season and 33 touchdowns. Like that, I don't care what level you're playing at. That is absurd to be able to just rattle off yardage and touchdowns like that.
Yeah, I think it's significant. I asked you beforehand off air, and I'll do it here for you. But to give a full picture here, but people have given a lot of these coaches credit for how K State's recruited because it's apparent. You can look at the rankings, and then you can look at production and other stuff. Ever since Chris Kleiman and his staff took over, K State recruiting has gone to another level. They've been really good at it, and then it's obviously been good at how it translates to the field in most circumstances. Brian Anderson at running back has been up there with really the best of the best. I mean, you think about what they've done at running back since Chris Kleiman took over. It's just been nonstop. They've had the answer in place every single year, like they do going into this year with Dylan Edwards and Joe Jackson. I think on the face of it, like we're talking about, people see no ranking for Davis, small town high school in Texas, Tanner West. You know what's going on there. It, is this a little bit of like a heat check for Brian Anderson and kind of, you know, buying his own supply basically with how he looks at it and goes, I can find these guys and I really, really like this here? Or is it because I think some people are probably sitting and going, well, or he's getting lazy and you just got a couple of guys that you could take easy, no problem, and you didn't have to work too hard for it. So which of those two would it be? Because I think I know what the answer is. I know what I believe, but you're the expert here. So I think it's best coming from you.
It's more of a heat check of those two because I think that there are traits that Brian Anderson and I really like about both of these two running backs. With Tanner West, you have the ability to be flexible with him, kind of like again we talked about it with Garrett Dixon and how it's not really for sure if he's going to be a corner or a safety. Yesterday when we were talking about the commits from over the weekend, Tanner West, you can have play running back, you can have him play in the slot, you can have him be your second running back in a formation. Like you can do so many different things with him. So I bet that that's something that K-State really liked about Tanner West and why they pursued him so hard. HD Davis is easy to like because he has the size and the speed already, and that's while playing at a tiny high school. Like you would imagine that in a Power Four strength and conditioning program that K-State has, because it's at this point it's not hyperbole to say it's one of the best in the country with how well K-State has guys performing at the NFL Combine and breaking records. And Marquise Siegel was like 2/10, I think, away from having the fastest 40-yard dash by a safety at the NFL Combine ever. So I don't think that it's overselling it to say it's one of the best in the country. Well, H.G. Davis can run a 10.7 100 already, which is very, very good for somebody his age at 205 pounds. You imagine that if he can gain another 15 or so pounds and also keep that same quickness and even get faster, that he's somebody that could really take off. Like this is, I'm not like being overzealous on this when I say that like HD Davis is probably in my top 4 or 5 of the current commits. Like there are a lot of things to really like about him.
Yeah, I just you know, I get it because the whole reason why there are recruiting rankings and stars and all that is to simplify this process for the common fan. And in some ways, like, you know, these coaching staffs throughout the country too. Like, yeah, they have their camps and all these other spots that they can evaluate guys, but I have no doubt that it makes it easier for them to just kind of pull up lists from On3 or 24/7 or somebody and go, okay, these guys are supposed to be good. Let's go check them out. But like you said, the evaluations haven't been done on some of these guys yet. And as we've talked, like we think that K State, when they bring somebody in, it makes these services look a little bit harder at players and make a
Somebody
decision there.
one of the commits from the last few days that have barely an evaluation or don't have an evaluation period will end up being close to a 4-star by the time
Yeah.
it's all said and done. That is just how it goes. Like
Well,
people will freak out about recruiting rankings in like June, but until it's December, it doesn't really matter that much. Like I've talked, there's been a lot of discourse on the board today about it, and I've just brought up last year at this time. Everybody was saying the exact same thing that they're saying right now. The the recruiting class from last year ended up number 37, tied for the best in the Chris Kleiman era. Was number 3 in the Big 12, the best in the Chris Kleiman era. Like I imagine this class ends up looking pretty similar. And if K-State can land some of the big fish that they're after, like they still have a chance for Severian Martin. They're still in the game for Tucker Ashford. They're still in the game for Ian Premer, who visits this weekend. Like if they land a lot of those guys or some of those guys, the class is just going to get better. Like they aren't missing on guys and really having to settle. And that's something that I also talked about earlier today, is that I think that of all the guys that have taken a visit that K-State really wanted, the only ones that have gone somewhere else are Noah Best and DeZephon Walker, which ends up kind of really sucking because they both end up going to Oklahoma. But then, and then also wide receiver from Georgia, Prince Jean, who went to Kentucky. And I'm not sure if that recruitment is over. Like that's somebody that I would have circled right before the signing period of whatever happens at Kentucky this year.
mm,
I will really be locked into what Prince Jean does. But you look at that of like, they've only really missed 3 guys that they really truly wanted. So they've had guys that have gone other places, but that's because they didn't have a spot for him anymore, like Caden Scherer, who went to Stanford, Cedric Addison, who went to Boston College. K-State wasn't going to take after they took Tanner West, and they were waiting on guys like DeSeven Walker, like H.D. Davis, like Will Rajecki. So they've lost some guys like that, but overall, they have pretty much gotten everybody that they've wanted that's came on an official visit. So because of that, I have no reason to not just trust what they're doing.
yeah, you bring up a guy like Prince Jean. Think of Sirius Stinyard last year, where that was the West Virginia stuff goes down, obviously with Neil Brown, and K-State ends up there. And I would say, do you remember off the top of your head where Gus Hawkins was at when he initially committed to K-State?
He wasn't ranked for a long time, and then ended up in that 86 or 87 range for his first evaluation, if I'm remembering correctly.
And then
And then ended up being like a top 52 player in the 24 class.
yeah, he
Like
ended up being the 52nd ranked player in the on 3 rankings, and
that,
was inside the top 250 for 24/7 too. So
that's just how this goes. Evaluations will change probably 10 to 15 times between now and December. There's
yeah,
no reason to freak out.
and I don't want that. I don't want people thinking that I'm trying to paint the picture that a guy like H.D. Davis is going to turn into get that kind of stature in the rankings, but it's more so to highlight. It's nothing to get overly worked up on right now, especially when you have the track record over the last however many years now of what this staff does recruiting under Chris Kleiman, and that there are so many examples that we could point to that have when guys committed that had low rankings or weren't evaluated at all yet, and they ended up being a-okay in the recruiting rankings and even better on the field. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, Toby is another example. Toby was a 2-star when he committed, and then I think by the time that he signed, 247 had him as a 4-star. So like that that's just how it goes sometimes. Because as much kind of crap as we give some of the evaluation teams, they do have a very, very hard job. They can't get every single kid in the country in the 2026 class ranked. There will be
yeah.
somebody not even committed to K-State. There will be at least 1 or 2 guys right now that probably don't have a ranking that end up being towards that like top 200 by signing day.
Yeah, it's interesting to me to look at that. And yeah, you were right on Toby Sami. He ended up actually in both on 3 and 24/7 a 4-star when it was all said and done, and his rivals ranking ended as a 5.42 star.
No, of course.
So he was number 223 and number 235 on 3 and 24/7, and still ended up in the industry ranking as a 3-star and 636th in the country because of ESPN and rivals dragging him down. And it's okay, it's kind of like, well, I don't know. People probably get bothered by it now because I think you've danced around it. You don't want to be mean to rivals, but it's like they're about to BS. Rivals itself is basically effectively dead. They're going to become whatever. It's like, I think you can joke about it now. It's kind of like, statute of limitations on jokes about people that pass away. Like, people get their Abraham Lincoln jokes off now. It's probably okay. Enough time has passed. I don't know that you would have pulled it out, a couple, the second the curtain falls on the play, you're not going, oh, let's start joking about the president here. But I think that this is one of those where I get why people are freaking out. And maybe it's also because Chris Kleiman's done such a good job of making it not be the norm when recruiting classes end that it's 5 gray stars. Everybody like to comment back in the days of, I don't know if that was more a Bill Snyder problem or a rivals problem. Probably a little bit of both. But I think we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But the numbers are there, and the back. You can go back and look at what Brian Anderson has done at running back and all these other coaches have done to where I think they deserve at least a little bit of leeway if you don't like what's going on with certain recruits in terms of their rankings. Those will change, and I imagine pretty soon after the merge happens, there will be probably a rankings update of some kind just to kind of get them all formulated the way that they're supposed to be, because we're pretty sure that the industry ranking is about to go a third on 3, a third 24/7, a third ESPN. So
yes.
That'll be fascinating.
I'm very intrigued to see what it really looks like, because I saw that they were going a third, and I was like, that could be wild.
Yeah, it will be. All right, before we get out of here, I want to remind everybody about the 2025 Aer Lingus College Football Classic. K-State and Iowa State getting set to play on August 23rd, 2025 over in Dublin, Ireland. You can visit cats2ireland.com for your travel, hospitality, and ticket info. You can get all of that right there. It's a one-stop shop, or kstatesports.com if you're just looking for some extra tickets if they're still hanging around. I know that, there are people even up until yesterday on our boards were saying that they were just making the decision to go over there, or they had locked it in. So definitely still time if you want to do it, but you're going to run out of it, and cats2ireland.com is going to make that process really easy for you. So go over there, check it out, and also come check out KSO and On 3 if you're not a member currently. We look forward to welcoming in a handful of the rivals members in the K-State community in a couple of weeks. And you can do your first week, if you're not a member of either site, for just $1 right now. Or if you're one of those rivals people and you say, I want in early, I want to see how it's going, you can join for $1 right now, test it out. And the beauty of it is when the sites merge, they're going to be able to look at it and axe the double subscriptions. So the way that it's been communicated is that if you have a subscription to both sites, not going to have to touch anything. As long as your email addresses line up, maybe even using the same card, I don't know on that, but as long as the email addresses line up, they're going to be able to say, okay, well, you're not needing to pay for both of these now because they're one, and they'll chop it off and you'll be good to go. So shouldn't have to touch it. And you're going to get everything from K-State and college sports throughout the country right here, KSO and On 3. And also be able to check out what's going on in the rest of the Big 12 with all the other Big 12 sites that are coming to On 3 in just a couple weeks. So that's the lowdown for what we've got going on now. When we return tomorrow, we're going to bump the recruiting update, previewing the weekend of official visitors to Wednesday, because we think we might be doing another one of these on Thursday. We'll just have to wait and see. But K-State is hot on the recruiting trail right now. We need to bake in some time to see if the Cats get another one, just so you're prepared. And then Friday, we will have the first episode of KSO Classic coming your way, 2003 K-State Nebraska football. I just got done with watching it this morning. Drew's going to watch it either today or tomorrow. So we'll bring that to you on Friday, and then we'll have an episode of that every Friday throughout the build-up to the start of the regular season when we're over in Ireland. So that'll do it for us today. For Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Voth. Thanks for watching and listening to the KSO Show.